everyone, this is Mrs. Thomas, and I'm going to be reading you the U.S. History Part B, Unit 1 Modified Test. This test does have an answer option removed, so you will see 3 answer options for each question. I'll be reading the questions and the answer options to you. It is very important, especially if you are a new student and you're new to testing, that you take the test carefully and keep a few things in mind. You're going to need to save your answers clicking this button right here as you go. In addition to doing that, you really need to write your answers down as you go on a piece of paper. So for this test, you would want to, as you start, list number 1, and then, for example, you could mark down which one you chose, A, B, or C. I know there's no A, B, or C here, but that's a really quick way to record what you answered. That way, if you have to go back again and redo the test, or you want to improve your grade, you don't have to start from scratch. You know what you got right. You're able to check what you got wrong and only focus on improving those questions. When you're done with your test, you want to submit for grading. You do need to click submit for grading. It's very important, or else your instructor will not see your test in the grade book. You will not receive a grade for it if you do not click submit for grading. So save answers as you go. Make sure you're writing your answers down as you go on a piece of paper. Keep it in a notebook or a binder, and then click submit for grading. You should do this for checkpoints and quizzes as well. All right, let's get started on your test. The first question is, which is a true statement about cities in the period between the Civil War and 1920? Cities grew rapidly as both immigrants and native-born citizens sought higher-paying jobs. Cities grew slowly because people wanted to stay on their farms and make money. Cities grew rapidly because people were eager to enjoy the sophisticated entertainment they offered. Number 2, why did many immigrants choose to live in cities as they entered the United States in the late 1800s or early 1900s? Jobs, family, and friends were there. Cities reminded them of home, or their visas required them to do so. Question number 3, which had the greatest impact on the growth of cities and the expansion of cities to suburbs? Was it transportation innovations, political changes, or leadership from mayors? Number 4, which was not an element of urban social stratification in the cities of the late 1800s? Race, class, or gender? Remember, you're looking for the one that does not fit. Number 5, how were skyscrapers important to the growth and development of cities? They took advantage of vertical expansion when the land was at a premium. They added interest to the skyline. They showed that America was very powerful and important. Number 6, leaders in what organization helped immigrants and others cope with the challenges of life in the city while also lining their own pockets with bribes? Political machines, the Democratic Party, or the Republican Party? Number 7, which is the corrupt political machine of the late 1800s? Tweed's Boys, Tammany Hall, or the Rough Riders? Number 8, what was one of the goals of the settlement house movement started by Jane Addams at Hull House? To provide housing for day laborers, to assist the urban poor, or to help people buy property? Number 9, which goal of the Populist Party led to its early popularity? Coinage of silver, political power of the upper class, or laissez-faire government? Number 10, why is the Populist Party generally regarded as a failure by historians? It advocated an income tax that became highly unpopular. It looked to the future and was too far ahead of its time. It did not address the realities of an industrial economy and could not endure. Number 11, what progressive organization had a goal of providing food and shelter to the slum-dwelling poor? The Sheldon Steps, the Booth Believers, or the Salvation Army? Number 12, which was not a goal of the progressive movement? Regulation of some aspects of the economy, improvement of social conditions, or establishment of a national bank? Number 13, what is a muckraker? A gossip columnist intent on finding the flaws in presidents, an investigative journalist who wanted to uncover the truth about corruption, a farmer able to raise crops despite the difficulties in obtaining credit. Number 14, there's a little bit of a formatting error here, but I'll read it through for you and hopefully that will help you out. What purpose or goal did muckrakers like Ida Tarbell, Upton Sinclair, and Lincoln Steffens devote their journalistic careers to? First option, following and reporting celebrity actions and spreading gossip. Second option, by clicking here, exposing corruption in business in the late 1800s. Or third option, by clicking here, serving as speechwriters for the mayors of Chicago, New York, and Philadelphia. Number 15, which was one reform of the progressive movement? Conservation zones within cities, elections of mayors instead of hiring city managers, direct elections of U.S. senators. Which proposal would Theodore Roosevelt in his New Nationalism oppose? Which proposal would Theodore Roosevelt in his New Nationalism oppose? Inheritance and income taxes, conservation in national parks, less restriction on corporations. Number 17, which was part of Woodrow Wilson's New Freedom Agenda? The elimination of monopolies, the formation of the United Nations, or the reduction of farm subsidies? Question number 18, what played a part in Woodrow Wilson's 1912 election victory? Roosevelt and Taft split the Republican votes. Wilson was more progressive than either Taft or Roosevelt withdrew and endorsed Wilson. Number 19, what agricultural system trapped many Southern blacks in a cycle of debt and poverty despite their hard work? Farm alliances, sharecropping, or cropland system? Number 20, which was not something that promoted segregation and limited the rights of blacks? Croplands, Jim Crow laws, or poll taxes? Number 21, which 1896 Supreme Court decision approved segregation of blacks as long as separate but equal facilities were provided? Plessy versus Ferguson, Brown versus Board of Education, or Madison versus Marbury? Number 22, which of the following does not correctly match the African American leader activist with the accomplishment he is known for? Booker T. Washington developed the Tuskegee Institute for Job Training and emphasized need for economic equality before social equality for African Americans. Marcus Garvey believed that the only way to achieve equality for African Americans was to push for immediate desegregation in the country. Third option, W.E.B. Du Bois became editor of the NAACP magazine, The Crisis, and disagreed with Washington's philosophy of economic equality before social equality. Number 23, which was a philosophy of early women's suffrage leaders Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Susan B. Anthony? To include men in their organization and have them advocate for women's suffrage, bar men from membership in their organization to gain immediate women's suffrage, or gain voting rights at the state level first and then move on to federal rights. What strategy did Carrie Chapman Catt employ to promote women's suffrage? An emphasis on achieving suffrage in her home state of Iowa first, a national demonstration of strength on the 4th of July, or a flexible state-by-state strategy? Number 25, which president endorsed the passage of the 19th Amendment, which gave women the right to vote? Was it Theodore Roosevelt, William Howard Taft, or Woodrow Wilson? Number 26, in your last multiple choice question, there's a quote here. It says, immigrants arrive in American cities poor and frightened. They are helped to find jobs or housing. These newcomers should show their gratitude at voting time. Read and review the quote above. The quote is most likely coming from a religious leader. Second option, a factory owner. Or third option, a political party boss. Number 27 is your first short answer question. The United States started the 20th century filled with growth and optimism, but Americans were aware that society and politics had problems that needed to be reformed. That was the big idea for Unit 7. Be sure to give page references for all the information you provide in your short answer. You should only be using your textbook and course slides to answer these questions. All responses should be in complete sentences. Any information coming from another resource, taken word for word from another source, will be cited for plagiarism and no credit will be given. You must give the page numbers or the slide numbers from your lessons from which you got the information for your short answer. Use Units 1, online course lessons, and your textbook pages. We give you the pages here, 539 to 605, chapters 24, 25, and 26. Provide one example, and here is your question, this part right here. Provide one example of social or political problems that were addressed in the United States at the start of the 20th century. What steps were taken to solve this problem, and what was the outcome? Or choose one leader of reform from the early 20th century in your short answer. Include, that should say include, there should be a D there, area of reform the leader worked. And the second thing you have to mention is a specific example of what they did to help support the reform movement in which they were involved. So you can choose either this first question right here or this one right here. Make sure to answer your question in the space provided. Number 28, optimism. In this unit, we have seen many examples of individuals showing optimism. That should say optimism. I don't know how I didn't catch that one. Remember, optimism can be observed in a person who expects the best in the future and works to achieve it. People who are optimistic tend to get over frustrations and setbacks quickly and also believe that effort will improve their future. Given an example of optimism from the early 1900s, explain who was showing optimism and which event or situation he or she demonstrated this character's trait. Okay. Or you can describe a time when you have shown optimism. If you do not have any personal examples, explain an example from your community. Your example can come from politics, education, business, or the community. Remember that the second question, even though there's some typos in here that I will fix by the time you take the test, they should all say optimism. Your focus is on the word optimism, not gratitude. All right, when you're done with your test, save your answers again, as you should be while you're taking the test, and then submit for grading. Good luck on